And we are live. GM, everybody, GM. And welcome to another amazing crowdcast with one of our favorite founders in Web3, Doug Petkanics from Livepeer. We've got Mason from our team who authored a terrific year-end recap on Livepeer and the Livepeer ecosystem that we're going to dive into today. But as a starting point for those that are new to Messari or new to these types of presentations, Messari is a data and research aggregator, and we've spent a lot of time over the last 4 years helping to work on data structures and standards for decentralized communities and the assets powering them. We, at this point, have covered several hundred assets in our research library in depth, everything from project history, the token economics, the security, the roadmaps, the governance structures. And one of the new things that we've been engaging various communities on is actually taking the role of a quarterly analyst and synopsizing every new development on-chain and off-chain for a given community to help people get a snapshot on a somewhat regular basis of how these ecosystems are progressing and evolving. One of the core reasons that we've been doing this is to kind of demonstrate the power of the underlying ledgers themselves. You no longer need an investor relations team or a CFO or an internal finance team responsible for quote unquote disclosures. This is open public information, and it really just matters who's looking and who's ultimately summarizing and aggregating this information. And as kind of evidence today, we are going to do this as the third report of this kind that we've done. We've done similar reports and calls with Compound, Uniswap, and of course excited to branch out into a killer Web3 application and video transcoding and everything that the Livepeer community has been doing today. But importantly, Mason and our research team and data science team at Messari created this report from scratch with basically no input from the Livepeer community other than the call that we have today for a kind of look ahead and discussion around some of the key community conversations, some of the key decision points that the Livepeer community and Doug and his team have been thinking through and maybe what to look for in the year ahead. So an important starting point there. And I think one of the most exciting things about crypto in general is that this dynamic can exist, and you can essentially disaggregate an overview of an asset or even kind of quarterly updates on an asset completely from the core development team, which is something that we've never seen before in finance, and it's obviously one of the killer apps that we're excited to continue to build up infrastructure around at Messari. So with that plug over, the plug / I guess disclaimer, Doug, for you, just to be kind of very clear about how we structured this and exactly what we are representing and what Mason's going to present as authoritative. I think it's a good jumping off point, and we'll let Mason kind of go through the broad strokes of this annual report, and then we're excited to bounce around not only some of the questions and clarifications that he had that I think would be interesting for this community, but also kind of dig into direct user questions as well during the Q&A segment. So Mason, take it away.
Awesome. Let's get to it. We'll drop the report into the chat so that everyone can access it on your own laptop. I'll also share my screen really quick so that we can kind of just walk through it broadly. So when we talk about the state of Livepeer, there's a variety of metrics that are important to the Livepeer network. And so, helpfully, for those who are maybe less familiar about Livepeer, there's a few core ecosystem members, and that really has to do with the demand side of Livepeer and the supply side. So Livepeer as a video transcoding network has broadcasters, or essentially applications that need to get video transcoded. And that process is operated by the video miners in the network who provide the actual computational transcoding services. These miners or node operators are referred to as orchestrators in the Livepeer network. And similar to how you have Bitcoin mining pools, there's also transcoding mining pools where computational power is directed at the demand generation side that comes into the network. And so with that kind of just like broad overview of Livepeer, we can kind of get into what we kind of defined are the core metrics of Livepeer. And that comes from the core metric being the amount of video transcoded on the network. So that's individual network or total network usage. And as you can see, the quarter over quarter growth in this video transcoded usage has been quite impressive. And Doug, would love your take, but I think one of the kind of core improvements that happened in 2020 was the StreamFlow upgrade, which added GPU bandwidth. And since that point, we've seen this rapid evolution in terms of usage of the protocol. And then as we get into kind of the other core metrics, we just have orchestrator fee revenue. We have staking rewards, which we can kind of dive into. And then we have other important staking metrics of the Livepeer network, such as the total Livepeer LPT that is distributed, both the value of it in quantity in terms of the LPT itself, but also the USD rewards. And then also the net staked and percent total staked of the Livepeer ecosystem. And so kind of with that as the framing of this report, we can dive into some of the data itself. And so kind of just outlining the growth that I was discussing a little earlier, we've noticed the total video transcoded rapidly evolve, and Livepeer has actually hit an all-time high in network usage each consecutive quarter for the past year. Doug, I think it'd be really quick. Would love to kind of hear where you've seen a lot of that usage come from, and just kind of expand into what types of applications are most utilizing the Livepeer network.
Sure thing. Yeah, thanks for having me here. Thanks for the overview and introduction to the project, and for all the work on this report. And even before diving into like what these minutes are, where they come from, just to help people understand what is this transcoding thing, why does that matter? Video streaming is 80% of the bandwidth on the internet. It's how we're broadcasting this call today. It's how people are working, learning, interacting in real time. It's a huge amount of the infrastructure on the internet goes to video streaming, and a lot of it all runs through kind of the same big centralized cloud providers, Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Livepeer is an open video infrastructure that lets developers build video streaming applications for a variety of use cases, right? And so people use the Livepeer network to power this video streaming, and one of the core pieces of functionality that needs to occur kind of on a technical level is this thing called transcoding, and that's taking input video, like the video for this call today, and converting it into the different bit rates and formats so that it can play on your cell phone, your laptop, on a high bandwidth connection, on a low bandwidth connection, on a smart TV, et cetera. And that's what the kind of the nodes and the workers on our network are doing. And so Mason highlighted the metric that we care most about. It's not the market cap of the Livepeer token or anything speculative around kind of a crypto financial primitive. It's actually how much fundamental usage is this network being used for in terms of minutes of unique video that are being encoded for distribution through the applications. And so it's been good to see that growing. Back to your question, Mason, where is this usage coming from? A lot of it's coming from the creator economy. It's coming from video streaming applications that allow users to go live and create and generate content and stream what they want. Popular applications that are not built on Livepeer that people are familiar with are YouTube and Twitch. Those are typical creator economy applications. They let their users stream for free. And Livepeer, we see people building kind of independent products and services that look like a YouTube or Twitch, but maybe aren't beholden to the attention economy and ad models of Google and Amazon, who own those platforms, but instead help creators monetize by connecting directly with their fans or having ownership of their work through creation of NFTs or these sorts of things. And so, we see this usage from apps that enable streaming for DJs, for musicians, for artists and their communities, a lot of these creative community specific streaming use cases. We also have seen users in esports and gaming, competing with things like Twitch. We've seen users on kind of more B2B centric, like users that power sports streaming for local high schools and colleges, people that power events streamings for conferences and meetups. They can build on Livepeer's infrastructure, use the network to power it. That's where a lot of the growth is coming, and it's been being driven by growing, kind of more maturation of our products and more marketing and awareness of our products, our end-to-end streaming products, and a media server we can talk about called Mist. And it's also interesting, it's beginning to come from the Web3 world, and excited to talk about kind of the use cases we're seeing for streaming in the Web3 world too.
Yeah, definitely. Before we get into that, I would love if you could kind of maybe outline the benefit that these developers, these applications get from using and leveraging Livepeer versus something like YouTube or Twitch. I know Livepeer is significantly cheaper in terms of an infrastructure cost, and so I would love if you could briefly touch on why that is and how that enables developers or content creators or whoever they are to leverage this network.
Yeah, sure thing. Kind of the traditional attributes that a video developer would be looking for when they choose an infrastructure are, cost, reliability, and quality, right? You have to deliver high quality. So, we think the open source software that we build and others contribute to leads to kind of high quality video experience. But cost is actually where Livepeer has the opportunity to make a huge impact. As I mentioned, doing live streaming is difficult. You need servers standing by all around the world that have enough capacity for any streams that your users create, right? And if you're creating something that looks like a Twitch, you don't know how many users are going to show up in any moment to start streaming. So you kind of have to have these servers provisioned all around the world. It's very expensive to have them standing by, sitting idle, and as a result, you see these cloud services charge typically like $3 per hour per input stream of video. So if you're letting 1,000 users stream, that's pretty expensive, like thousands of dollars per hour, right? Millions of dollars per week, or per month. What Livepeer does is it enables anyone with a GPU and bandwidth that happens to be sitting there to just be available, such that if anyone shows up to stream and you're Livepeer enabled, your GPU could earn money for doing this video encoding. And there's this really cool opportunity where there happens to be millions of GPUs deployed in data centers all around the world that are being used for mining cryptocurrency. So they're already around the world, they're already distributed, they're already paid off in a working business model. But here's the cool thing. Those GPUs happen to have video encoding chips on them that can't hash crypto. They just sit there doing nothing while the rest of the GPU is hashing crypto. And so what the Livepeer software does is it says, oh, you don't have to disrupt your crypto mining. You can keep mining Ethereum or Zcash or whatever GPU coin you're mining. But when there's video encoding work to be done, you'll get additional revenue for doing that encoding at the same time. And so that's a cool value proposition. So there, it costs these miners, pennies per day in electricity or bandwidth to use this component of their GPU. And that allows them to charge a price in the open Livepeer marketplace that's more than pennies a day, so they can make a profit, but still way less than that $3 an hour that, or $72 a day that a cloud provider would be charging for video encoding. And so the Livepeer network at its core can be 10 to 100 times cost disruptive to the prices charged by a lot of cloud providers. That's pretty powerful.
And as a follow-up to that, what is the GPU capacity of the Livepeer network today?
Yeah, because it's open and decentralized, like I can't put a explicit number on it because you don't know how much capacity people have sitting there. But we know that there are some large miners, some large infrastructure providers on it who have publicly stated the amount of GPUs they have, in their networks and spread across data centers. And a number we've said is over 70,000 GPUs are available on the network. Keep in mind, there's not infinite live video being created at any given moment because it takes human beings to be holding an event like this to create it. And so just that number of GPUs alone would be enough to encode all the video for Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook combined at
Wow.
any given moment. Right. So not saying it's all sitting there ready to, be Livepeer enabled in the moment, but the partners that are running on the Livepeer network and operators on the Livepeer network kind of have this capacity at their disposal. And because the video encoding tasks pay so much more than mining or other forms of usage for your GPU, it becomes a no-brainer for that supply to be available as demand warrants it.
Yeah, no, thank you for that context. And so now kind of moving into I think that's a good framing of the current use of the Livepeer network. As we get into, the next kind of forward-looking the next year, I know that the Livepeer team has stated a variety of types of applications or use cases that you believe Livepeer would be incredibly suited for, whether it's video printing or recognizing like songs in terms of like licensing. I would love if you could kind of outline, 2 or 3 of the use cases that you're most excited about, and how Livepeer might serve that use case or that customer base.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's 2 tracks that are interesting. One is like additional futuristic video capabilities, right? And the other, I think let's, pull it back to Web3 a bit and talk about what we see in the Web3 decentralized tech space. So for video capabilities, we talk about smart video tasks. This is like AI-based compute on video in real time to do things like identifying what type of video is this? Is it violent content, adult content, copyrighted content? Because people who are building, consumer streaming applications need that information to do things like moderation and make sure their users have a good experience, right? And it just so happens these GPUs that are processing the video on the network happen to be the same things that are used to do these AI-based computations. So, that's like identifying what type of video it is. Use cases we're really excited about are object detection. So it's detecting what objects are appearing in a video stream and making them actually interactive and clickable so that people can do interactive video experiences, whether that's, game-centric use cases like hosting a game show that the audience is clicking on the video in order to interact with, or e-commerce type experiences where you're kind of selling and showcasing a product and allowing to show more information as you're hovering over. I think there's cool NFT use cases. I'm imagining all these NFT communities that use their profile pic NFT as their avatar. Imagine in any video like this, if your avatar was actually like could be identified by AI and be hoverable and could show who owns it, what was it last sold for, what's the link to OpenSea. So you need like GPUs that are doing kind of running algorithms on streaming video to be able to augment the video with that information. So I think those use cases are kind of in the R&D world are super exciting. The things that are a little more here today, that are like actively being worked on with design partners are the like things that people like the crypto native projects are doing with video that's kind of unique and needs these Web3 native connections. So these are things like token gated streaming, where your DAOs and projects are like streaming content that they only want to be accessible to members of their community who maybe hold a social token, a membership token, or a specific NFT in a collection, right? And so that's like integrating wallets with access to output video streams. We saw 5 different projects built on that with Livepeer in last weekend, this ETH Global NFT Hackathon,
Wow.
right? I think metaverse streaming is really interesting. Like these metaverses like Decentraland are growing and people are gathering in these metaverses to view video streams from the real world, like concerts that are being put on. Similarly, streaming video out of metaverses. So what's it mean to have virtual cameras in these things and the hot spots that are showcasing to the real world what's going on at the casino or the concert hall or the gaming venue, like in the metaverse. So seeing use cases around that. I think live video NFT minting, there's a whole creative canvas where yeah, I don't know what the killer product there is, but I know that, creators interacting with their fans in real time and letting them kind of mint and own some of the moments that are occurring is a way that creators are able to better monetize than just slapping ads on top of their stream, right? And
Right.
so making sure that Livepeer can be, um, you know, integrated for those use cases. And just the last one I would mention is, hey, I think you guys highlighted this at mainnet really well. Like, we're not in a world where every single thing is built on Ethereum anymore. There's all of these developer ecosystems across, layer one and layer two scaling solutions, and just making sure that they can all leverage Livepeer as their video infrastructure, even though kind of Ethereum is the core payments mechanism today. So doing work to think about cross-chain support.
And I think given those applications, like there's obviously, since Livepeer is a public network, anyone can build on top of it. And the Livepeer.com is one such hosted application. Could you kind of explain a little bit about Livepeer.com? And I'd love to kind of get into the important acquisition that you guys made back in November of Miss Server, and kind of just dive a little deeper into why that's important and what it's really going to enable the Livepeer team and just in general the Livepeer ecosystem to do.
Yeah, so Livepeer is a open project, an open public network. Like you said, anyone can participate and build anything. For the first 2 years of the project, a lot of the core team just focused on building that out. And then we reached this moment where we said, okay, we build it. We have this bootstrap supply side of global node operators. It's working, but we need to actually build the products and services that make it easy for the demand side to adopt this network without worrying about blockchain, crypto,
Yeah.
Decentralization. And that's when, even though we always had this company that, Eric Tang and I co-founded called Livepeer Inc., and our mission was to kind of steward the Livepeer project and focus on growing the adoption of the Livepeer network. We said, okay, this company actually can take an active role in building like the product, services, and commercial relationships to onboard demand into the network. And so, Livepeer Inc., the company, is just one actor in this network, but an important one. Just decentralizing over time through, other people building various key components that users use to interact with it. But the first product that we built was called Livepeer.com. It was a end-to-end streaming API. So any developer could show up, register an API key, and stream and leverage the power of the Livepeer network. And we did things to make it easy for them to do that. Hosted Livepeer nodes all around the world to serve for them to ingest their video. We allow for credit card payment, right? And this is when you show the growing adoption of kind of minutes streamed on the network going up and to the right this year. It's because we launched the first version of that product in January, and then it got better in Q2, and we onboarded more users in Q3. And in Q4, we kind of had just gotten through this important milestone and moment that you referenced, which was the first acquisition that Livepeer, the company, did of this great company in the Netherlands called DDV Tech that built a product called Miss Server. And Miss Server is this piece of video software that developers, all around the world, from indies to enterprises, use in their video workflows. And they'd been a partner for a long time. They had integrated with Livepeer, so their users could use the Livepeer network for their transcoding, and a lot of our usage was coming through those users. We also used their product to build this Livepeer.com kind of global end-to-end streaming service. And so really excited to join forces with a great technical team there right outside Amsterdam. And the end result of this is we believe we're going to have, continue to invest in their technology and this integration, and we'll be able to pair like the world's best open video software that anyone can use to build a video application with the world's most scalable, affordable, reliable, and open video infrastructure that they use to scale their streaming application and provide the infrastructure that software runs on. And that's a really powerful combination that's enabled because of token incentivized models and token coordinated models, where we all collectively benefit from increased usage of this network. And that's kind of like the business model, as opposed to just like charging people when you sell your software to them, or licensing like this closed proprietary thing. And I think that's powerful. It's hard to compete with if you're saying, oh, you have to buy our software and you have to pay Amazon X amount for every server you rent to run it on, where it's like, oh, you could use this software, this open software, and you have this more cost-effective open network to run it on. So tons of work to do to actually like, make sure the product's amazing and meets developer needs. But just from a positioning, perspective, I think it's superpower of what crypto and blockchain networks enable.
Doug, how much of the network capacity is getting funneled to the Livepeer Inc. hosted services versus third-party video services or interfaces that have been built? I assume during the bootstrapping phase, it might be predominantly Livepeer Inc. Powered front ends. How do you think about the scale out of that, and where is the mix right now?
That's right. It's the majority. Majority is coming through Livepeer Inc. front ends, whether that be the .com streaming service or Mist itself. Right. I think the things that you see. It's interesting. If you count it by minutes streamed through the network, the majority comes through that. Where you see people begin to build directly on it is more in this like experimental Web3 world, which shouldn't be surprising, right? You show up to a Web3 hackathon, you're comfortable, you can build directly on the network. And so there you see cool example use cases and experiments and hacks emerge. And those are powerful and inspirational examples, but they may only represent like 100 minutes of video a week versus the like millions of minutes of video a week that you might see through some scaled applications, leveraging.com. And so, yeah, definitely excited to focus on mechanisms to decentralize that over time.
One of the things that strikes me as high potential would be just mirroring a centralized service, right? So, if there were the ability to kind of one click add a Livepeer redundancy to the stream, right? Have you seen experimentation there? Either, maybe this is something you're building at the Inc. or have you seen this kind of materialize through the community? Because the marginal cost to run that experiment is not too high. And, there might be ways to incentivize those experiments, number one, because long term, if people start to trust the reliability of that as an alternative and can see that it's a 50, 75, plus % cost reduction, that's one bootstrapping and kind of onboarding mechanism that seems like it would have promise. I'm just not sure if that kind of UX is there quite yet, or if that's in the works.
Yeah, we've seen that technique play out effectively when it comes to getting people to evaluate Livepeer and to build up and gain trust that a decentralized network can deliver on the reliability they need. Getting deep into the weeds of how video works and video engineering. Typically every like 2 seconds of video is like another file, right? And when you're receiving that, you're kind of reading, what's the next file? What's the next file? What's the next file? And the way the video tech works behind the scenes is you can have like a primary and a backup file in that playlist, so the player can request the backup if it can't get the primary. And we've seen people test this out by using the Livepeer encodings as the backup and their existing provider as the primary, and that's what gives them the trust that, oh, I've integrated it, oh, it's working, oh, it actually delivers this video in real time, and then eventually switch over to using Livepeer. So good suggestion, good sales tactic.
Well, I mean, we're using Crowdcast, and I think we'd obviously love to eat our own dog food in general. And if there were integrations or basically ways to install a plugin, right? I think maybe one of the most underutilized but technically complex things to build would be just a series of extensions for Web3 applications to mirror your Web2 applications. As a slow motion user vampire attack or whatever you want to call it. So maybe there's a unicorn there for just building the abstraction tools for a number of kind of Web3 services, but something that's kind of top of mind instead of just trying to compete directly head on. Can you prove that the backup works first?
Yeah, keep the vampire attack ideas coming and the unicorn ideas coming, because one of our challenges, one of the biggest hurdles we've had is there's so many people in the Web3 world and like the creator world that um, want to see like a Web3 disruptor to a YouTube or a Twitch or whatever kind of centralized application, and they come to Livepeer thinking that's what we are. And then they have this slight moment of like realization when it's like, oh, it's actually an infrastructure, and you still need a product visionary to say, I'm going to use that infrastructure to build the Web3 crowdcast or the Web3 Twitch or the Web3 YouTube. And then that would be the thing that these thousands or millions of creators would latch onto. And by the way, I don't think it looks just like a clone of Twitch or a clone of YouTube. I don't think that's interesting. I think it needs to be something new and innovative that leverages better, creator economics through NFTs or tokenization or crowdfunding or whatever the mechanic is. Um, but I think this is the year we'll see a lot of those like entrepreneurs and product visionaries and hackers actually be able to piece together not just Livepeer, but Livepeer, the Graph, Arweave, Sia, Filecoin, Helium, like all these Web3 primitives to build some of these cool new applications that reach a million people.
Yeah, I think that you bring up interesting points around like just making these applications easier across the board for the demand side is a key driver of growth. Because I mean, from a lot of these networks, Livepeer included, like the supply side is largely there, and it's just how do we make consumption easier on some of these networks. Maybe pivoting a little to scalability and Livepeer's made some key decisions in terms of the future of the protocol, specifically in regards to the Confluence upgrade. So we would love to kind of talk briefly about the Confluence upgrade. And I know as part of that, Livepeer is migrating to Arbitrum. And so would love to hear kind of how you guys went about deciding that process, why Arbitrum versus another L2, and kind of some of the benefits that that migration is going to bring.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, really excited about this. A huge pain point in our network as the Ethereum fees have risen so much over the last year was that it was kind of too expensive for a new node operator to join the network and get started, or too expensive for token holders to kind of stakers to claim their fees and whatnot. And so we've really been doing all the research and whatnot to figure out the right scaling solution that mitigates some of these impacts. Um, Confluence is the code name of the upgrade we've been working on for a while. It's actually really close to going live. It's on a test net right now. We're in phase 2 of the test net, which means we're actually live on Arbitrum Ring B test net. And the audit process is nearly complete. So we're literally in the last couple of weeks before we should be live on Arbitrum. The impact that we're looking for here is a dramatic 10x cost reduction for participation in the network, which should really open up access to more node operators, more delegators to take active role and move their stake around from node to node and respond to network events, and grow the community as a result. We've always been a huge partner of and believer in the Ethereum ecosystem. We've been built on Ethereum. It's a great developer experience. We have a lot of expertise there, and we, evaluating scaling solutions, we thought it was important that there was great developer tooling, testing capabilities, a huge developer ecosystem that's battle tested and found support around these things. So that's kept us looking at solutions that were very kind of Ethereum integrated. We also really have valued like practicality over and like usability today or soon over like theoretical gains that you'll get in the future. So the way that the timing lined up, it wasn't looking to make a huge migration that makes a bet on an entirely other immature ecosystem. It wasn't waiting for general purpose ZK computation, even though that might ultimately be a super scalable path. It wasn't waiting for ETH2 roadmap to play out. It was looking, how can we deliver incremental valuable gains to our users in the short term? And so Arbitrum was a great choice. Excited about the progress there. It's not going to represent a 1000x cost savings. It's not going to make transactions free. So there's always iterative steps that come beyond that. But I think it's delivering a big win to users in the near term.
Yeah, I think an important point that you bring up in it will be easier for kind of some of the interesting economics of Livepeer to become more prevalent. And so delegators specifically being able to kind of switch their delegation more freely, move to different orchestrators if they think that some are providing a better service. Because right now it's a little prohibitive for any small delegator to kind of allocate capital differently each week just because of the Ethereum gas fees. And so do you think that there will be any type of change to which orchestrators have the most delegation, given that it will be easier to redelegate from the long tail of potential stakers?
I hope so, and I think it will. To give a little background, the reason this matters is in Livepeer, the more stake that a node has, the more kind of security it's providing to the network, and therefore the more work it can perform, and the more fees it can earn. So the nodes that have more stake are kind of competing and able to do more work and earn more fees, right? There's a second concept that's interesting. We call it inflation funding. It's the notion that these node operators, they actually, every day they get to mint new Livepeer token according to how much stake they have. And some of that flows back to the token holders who have delegated towards them, but the node operator kind of keeps a cut. They keep a commission, if you will. And the notion is, hey, Livepeer is going to be able to fund things in a decentralized way through this inflation. If someone is running a node and they're campaigning on the contributions they're making to the network, maybe they're building an application, maybe they're helping onboard demand, maybe they're investing in hardware to provide this great service, people can help fund those efforts by staking towards them and letting them keep a little bit of the future earnings, right? And a lot of times, a barrier to this has just been, oh, it's too expensive for me to split my stake into 10 different accounts and support 10 different nodes and move it around and do all these transactions because you'd have thousands of dollars of Ethereum fees and overhead. But as you have, cost-effective staking with the click of a button for a couple cents, you can move stake around and you can split it and to support different nodes. The role that I want to see token holders and delegators play is say, hey, let's activate new nodes that are high performing and help them earn more work because they're going to be sharing more fees back to me and they're helping the network succeed. Let's move some stake and inflation fund people who are making great contributions. And yeah, let's work together collectively to make sure that this network has global coverage and service in every region and high performing orchestrators in every region. And yeah, bringing down the cost and open that accessibility is going to be a big game changer for all three of those factors that I'm excited about.
Definitely. And for kind of a little more context in the L2 migration, that's specifically for the Livepeer staking contracts, is Livepeer thinking about having multiple instances of the staking contracts running on different L2s, or is it going to be more convenient just to have everything in kind of one specific scaling solution?
Yeah, so for the supply side of the network, the people who run nodes and receive payments and stake token, we think it's most convenient for there to be one point of access for that and form one network that's coordinated in one place, right? So that's on Arbitrum. And by the way, when unstaked tokens kind of can cross back over the bridge back to Ethereum to get that composability with existing DeFi, with exchanges for deposits, withdrawals, et cetera. So it's kind of that Arbitrum Ethereum connection and bridge. I do want to highlight though, for users, for people that want to build and leverage Livepeer as developers, this is where we're really interested in the cross chain. And so what's it look like for you to be able to auth your wallet on any chain or layer 2 and establish credits for payment that you have for streaming, whether that's through making deposits directly or for tapping into an auth-based credit system from your ecosystem fund or whatnot, ideas that are kind of being shaped and explored now. But I think from a user's perspective, you should be able to build on this network from any chain.
Awesome. I think that that kind of gives us, considering the question, the first question we have in the chat, a good starting point to just kind of dive into questions from anyone in the audience. And so we can start with Tom's question. You talked about it being excited about a kind of multi-chain world. Is Livepeer considering deploying on other L1s, either like currently or given it over the context of this next year?
Yeah, I think as I just articulated, I think we think about other L1 ecosystems having like crypto native access to use Livepeer to build applications, right? So if the next killer decentralized social application is being built in the Polygon ecosystem or the Tezos ecosystem, like those developers should be able to use Livepeer in a way that's not like swipe your credit card at livepeer.com, right? It's probably off your wallet and just deposited funds on your native chain, and that gives you access through your because remember, no video ever touches a blockchain. That's all kind of done peer-to-peer through the network. So the key is just proving through your signatures, through your digital identity, that you kind of have deposited credit in order to be able to stream, and then payments can get settled accordingly to the node operators. And I think that's sort of bridging and access control and payments mechanism is the layer where the cross-chain ecosystems come into play.
No, thank you. I think that's helpful context. And payments are in ETH for transcoding services.
Yep. Under the hood, yeah, payments are settled in ETH. But I mean, I actually think a stable coin might make more sense because it'd be less volatile for pricing. I think we could just put that on the protocol upgrade priority list as scaling gets solved and time allows. But yeah, ETH is what's used under the hood to settle payments.
I like that. It would make it definitely easier in terms of pricing.
Yeah, you guys put together all the reporting information about dollar value of fees, dollar value of staking rewards, and it all has to be adjusted based on the swings of the price of Ethereum, the price of Livepeer token, right? But yeah, you've done a nice job. I saw that in the quarterly report you linked to a Dune Analytics dashboard that has all the raw data available. So it was a nice approach you took.
Yeah, and for anyone who is curious about the Dune dashboard, I just dropped it in the chat. You can see in real time the metrics that we tracked and pretty much every metric that we're able to get on chain from Livepeer.
Yeah. Following up on that, I know Ryan started this session with what he called a plug for kind of third-party research, kind of replacing the internal IR or a financial reporting function of a company. Like, that's a plug, but it's so valuable and true, right? Like, we're a small technical team that builds video infrastructure, and not a publicly traded behemoth that has an IR department that can produce like quarterly financial reports, but we see so much value in like transparently making sure everyone's aware of network fundamentals, usage, core metrics. Like, there's so much value in doing that. So I love the notion that Messari or just a whole community can come together to provide that insight for the community.
Well, Doug, my pitch for 4 years has been we're better than the SEC, and so we can't double back on it now. But we're getting there slowly but surely. And obviously I say that tongue in cheek, but I think anyone that actually uses a network like Livepeer would be tough to kind of come with a straight face and see similarities to a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ, for instance, right? I think it's fundamentally different to be able to extract all this information from an open ledger, to know that the control and decision making over that entire network is not completely controlled by one team, and to recognize the reality that all these different assets are going to live somewhere in a spectrum from fully centralized, just taking the idea at inception, right? Bitcoin was centralized when Satoshi wrote the white paper because it was just in his head. And all the way to whatever the platonic ideal is of full decentralization, which will never actually hit in any network. I think one of the important things to call out, Mason linked to the Dune dashboard, the fact that someone like Messari can interoperate with the Graph and Dune and some of the other open information products that have been built, I think is just going to accelerate that process of getting more information like this structured and disseminated in a way that ultimately helps us from a public relations standpoint, but also just from kind of general stakeholder communications. And now we're starting to see alerting functionality built into wallets, right? So the innovation that's going to unlock in terms of being able to basically direct message a link to a quarterly update from a protocol team, or not even from the protocol team itself necessarily, but maybe from the community member like Messari. I think that the amount of innovation that can be unlocked from there is it just continues to compound, and obviously we're excited to keep working with good projects that have been building bull or bear for years now.
Awesome. Yeah, completely agree. I don't know what all the analysts are doing waiting for today's 5:30 Elon Musk quarterly Tesla call when they should be in the world where they're just looking at the Dune Analytics dashboard. Yeah, a couple days in advance.
Yeah, and look, we would welcome other teams to front run us on other projects. It's a big market, and I think the way that we kind of view this quarterly and kind of ongoing reporting for communities is there's going to be a handful of service providers that are kind of embedded with different protocol communities, and maybe the service is analogous to us, being one of the big four auditors that's engaging and kind of in the weeds with different projects. I'd say today we're probably in a class of our own, but I think we'd obviously expect and welcome others to step up, because there's more projects than we would be able to work with, like right out of the gates for sure. And I think this is something that's going to be important, not only for us to host, but important for to see created and standardized in a way that this information be accessible on Messari, on other third-party sites, whether it's CoinMarketCap or Bloomberg or anything in between.
As we kind of round this out, I think we've answered a lot of the questions, but there is one that I just kind of wanted to surface that we didn't necessarily discuss, and that is what video players and interfaces do the creators use if this transcoding service is powered by Livepeer? Are they are they using a custom video player or the Livepeer platform?
Yeah, really good question. Right now, they can use whatever video player they want. There's a series of open source ones. Mist Server, which is part of the Livepeer project, has a player that they could use and embed. And some browsers play video natively, right? Video players up to them. Going forward, I think the world's open video infrastructure and the world's best open video software, should have a great open player that is, decentralized by nature, in that it has these kind of primitive decentralization based features, whether that's integration with, wallet based identities, or tapping into the smart video that can identify, digital IDs through profile pics, like I gave examples before. I think there's opportunity there, but for now, it's pick your own solution.
Awesome, thanks for that clarification. Excited about everything Livepeer has done in 2021, and looking forward to a myriad of upcoming 22 events, including the full migration of the Confluence upgrade. Is there any final thing that you are most excited about this next quarter or this next year?
I think it's the year that, like I said, that we're going to see consumer social applications reach the mainstream that are powered with crypto primitives, right? We're going to see the next TikTok emerge with crypto primitives built in, because it's better for the creators, it's better for the consumers to own their platform. I think video would be a big part of it. So Livepeer is a open community. We want to help people create and enable these things. Check us out at livepeer.org, join our Discord, and there's a lot of people there that are building, that are excited to be part of that and partner up with you. So that's the call to action. But thanks so much for hosting this call and having me. It was great. And I will talk to you all soon.
Awesome.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks so much, Doug.
Bye, everyone.
And thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll see you again for another update soon. More
Thanks,
coming.
Al.
Check out Messari.io. Subscribe to the newsletter for more updates like this. See ya, everyone, including Big Thunder 58. See ya.